So I hope you can hear me all quite well and good. Yeah, looks good. So thank you very much for being here. I'm Stefan Bamberg. I'm Director of Sales and Key Account Management of Wibu-Systems. We are a company located in Germany, in Karlsruhe. You see here our headquarters in Karlsruhe. We are focused since more than 35 years on the sections of protection, licensing and monetization. So we started about 35 years before with protection solutions and monetization solutions for Windows, Linux and Macintosh. And since a lot of years, more than 10 in the meantime, we also care about embedded systems. So what we are providing as Wibu-Systems is if you are a software vendor, it could be a plain software, independent software vendor, or intelligent device manufacturer, how the ones are called, who have or sell devices that also are controlled by software. We have solutions for you to protect everything against manipulation, tampering, and so on, and to monetize your software with flexible license models. And the title of my presentation is How is your way to marketplaces? And let's see first where Wibu-Systems is also located in the world, because protection and monetization is a global topic. It's everywhere where a customer or an ISV needs protection and monetization or wants to sell a software, he needs a solution for that. Wherever it is in the world. So we have departments in North America, in Europe, of course, because we are headquartered in Karlsruhe. And we have different departments in Asia as well, because that topic is a worldwide global topic to protect and license software, also for embedded devices. Why marketplaces? It's a more motivation slide. So the digitization of processing of devices is increasing more and more and more. In former times, you had a device and you had a little bit software that controls that device, but nobody cares about protection, nobody cares about monetization of such devices. Because you sell a device, maybe a low-price device, a high-price device, but nobody has the idea also to sell the software for these devices as well. But this has completely changed in the meantime. So today, a lot of companies are highly interested to have a return on invest also on the software that is supplied for such a device as well. Not only the hardware gets money, also the software is intended to have a return on invest for a company as well. So you have here, for example, a robot. You have a controller for this robot. On this controller, there's a software installed. So typically, you have a software developer who creates that software. And today, it is highly of interest to protect this software on such a device as well. So you see here software and data. It's in stripes here, so it's protected. And also a machine user needs to access the software on such a device. So both of them needs access and control over that software. But there are a lot of software developers as well in the world. Maybe your own software developers, but mostly third-party developers who also create software for such an embedded device. So it makes totally sense to collect these third-party software on a so-called marketplace. It could be your own marketplace, it could be a marketplace of an independent company. You will see some of these examples later as well, because these developers give their software to that marketplace, and the developers for these devices in a certain company uses, for example, existing libraries that are developed by the third-party developers as well, downloading it from such a marketplace. And this is the good thing here, you can earn money with this, such a marketplace. So you as a company A, for example, that sells the controllers here, the company A, you can get money like Apple does it with their app store. So the developers, the third-party developers, upload the software to that marketplace, and they hope for selling it on your marketplace, and you, as the provider of such a marketplace, you get a certain percentage of the software revenue from these third-party developers. This is the idea of having such a marketplace in the world, globally, of course, of many companies in the meantime. I don't know if you have ideas to do that as well, or if you are a developer who thinks about using an existing marketplace today as well. But that's the overall idea to do that. So how to build up a marketplace? You can do it on your own, of course. No? It's not rocket science, but there are a lot of existing marketplaces in the meantime. We will see that later on again. So you need at least two interfaces. One interface for the vendor of the software to upload the software to such a marketplace. And you are in charge to supply everything that is necessary to sell such software of the third-party companies in your marketplace. You need the billing, you need every legal things done. You need to protect it, and of course you need a system to offer licensing for these third-party vendors. They don't want to do anything, they give you a little bit money for that, but you have to provide that in the marketplace for all these third-party vendors. Now, why protection? We are talking about licensing, but why protection? Protection means here really the protection of the data and of the software itself. And so we have today the goal that your intellectual property that you have invested in that software needs to be protected. On the other side, you don't want to have your devices and your software tampered. So today it's more of interest than ever to make sure that nobody can tamper your software, nobody can change the software in a way that it does something else that you intended that the software is doing. So tampering is an important thing, reverse engineering is an important thing. Nobody should know your wonderful algorithms that you have implemented in your software, and of course nobody should use this who is not authorized to use the software. These are the main goals that are interesting for the protection, and of course nobody should use it without your knowledge because you want to earn money with it. Yeah? So protection is absolutely of interest here. The other thing is you are, let me say, motivated to protect your software. Motivated by different standards and by the European community. So starting with the IEC 62443, which is a cybersecurity standard that exists more than 10 years in the meantime. So a lot of companies try to apply to this IEC norm. But in the meantime, we also have the NIS2. I'm pretty sure you have heard about these NIS2 and the Cyber Resilience Act, which forces you to create cybersecurity for your complete system and especially for the applications as well. So the Cyber Resilience Act started end of last year, and you have 2 years' time to make all the new products cyber resilience compatible. Which means that all products that you want to sell in the European community needs to comply to the Cyber Resilience Act. But even better, you have to make your existing products in the field complying to that standard as well. So on the one side, you have your own intention to protect your intellectual property. On the other side, you are forced to show it. If you have a critical infrastructure or you provide software for a critical infrastructure, you have to make audits, external audits. If you belong to a certain class of products, you can do it by yourself, but you have to document everything, all the processes, to make sure that you are comply with the Cyber Resilience Act. So this is a strong motivator for the protection in the field of applications as well. for your own application, and you have to offer that, of course, to the ones who want to sell the products maybe in your marketplace. So they need protection. You can, with the marketplace, offer protection for them and offer the licensing mechanisms. So the aspects of product security is that you protect your software and your data, which is very important. Not only software is of interest, your data, log files, parameter files, whatever you have in addition to your software needs to be protected as well. So intellectual property theft, I mentioned that before, to protect your invest. Manipulation, to avoid dangerous conditions of your system. To secure authenticity, who created the software? Is the software really from you that is running on an embedded device? Are the updates and upgrades really from you? You have to sign your software, you have to control from the embedded device if that is really your software, if that is really your update. You have to make sure that is really the case, and you have to track that as well. To avoid unauthorized use and prevent any misuse, I also mentioned that before, and the tracking of who did what and when at the machine. That's an important point for the two of us. Licensing is, of course, something to monetize the software, but on the other hand, it also helps to fulfill a Cyber Resilience Act, because you have to know exactly which software version is used from which user in the field, so that you know in which version, so that you really know, okay, if this version of my software is no longer Cyber Resilience compatible, I need to stop the usage in the field. However you do that. And that's the easiest thing to say, okay, I withdraw the license for such a software and give out a license for the new, again, compatible compliant software that for the Cyber Resilience Act. Yeah? And so licensing is not only good for earning money, it's also good for product security as well. How to protect? This here is an overview of what we, as CodeMeter Wibu-Systems technology, is integrate once and deliver many. So the idea, and that is the base for a marketplace at the end, concerning protection and licensing. What we offer is a so-called protection suite that allows you to convert an unencrypted software to an encrypted software. So this software is safe until it is needed to decrypt it to run it in the memory of a CPU. On the other hand, because in our technology the licenses are nothing else than cryptographic keys with some characteristics, like you can use it until the end of the year, you can use it 10 times, you can use it in a network. The licensing mechanism is in the lower box here, where you see an ERP or CRM system and the marketplace as well. So the idea is that a customer of this marketplace who wants to buy a library from that marketplace gets an activation ticket, for example, to be able to activate licenses 24/7, 365, wherever it is on the globe. And this system is, the License Central in our case, is integrated in such a marketplace. That's the reason why I have that sign for the marketplace on this site again. So you have the marketplace, you can buy third-party libraries from this marketplace. These libraries are ideally protected, and you need a license to be able to use the whole application, or sometimes a part of that application, additional functionalities that you have in your software as well. And deliver many means at this time that the customers all get the same encrypted software, and you decide with the licenses what parts of this software can use, which functions, which parts of the application can be used. So you can sell an application with a limited set of features, and the end users are able to buy additional licenses in the after sales for additional very interesting functions. Maybe they see, okay, it's a wonderful thing, I only buy this. Oh, there is a great function that I can additionally buy, and you just sell the licenses. Everything is already in the application, sometimes, and then you can sell these licenses in addition from the marketplace perspective now. In our case, we support dongles, software licenses or cloud licenses, because the requirements on the market are very often very different. We're talking in the embedded industry more from on-premise solutions, where you do not have an always-on connection to the cloud. So there are also solutions for, I send that license out to the device, it's activated by a file interchange, and then the license can work independently on that system, so that you have the online and offline case covered by that. I want to give you, because we are here on a masterclass, it's not just a presentation, it's a masterclass. I want to give you a little bit an inside view how this works at the end of the day, a little bit more in detail. So we have on the one side, you as an ISV, or the one who wants to sell libraries in just your marketplace. Take the perspective that you want. In principle, it's the same. And on the other side, you have the user, the one who wants to buy that library. And I have here the different possibilities: e-commerce, CRM, ERP. And on the other side, we have SaaS software, we have mobile apps, we have cloud apps, we have on-premise software. So it depends a little bit what embedded system you have. If there is an online connection, yes, there are some in the meantime, but typically you do not have an online connection. But it's up to you, and you can convince me after that speech if you have a different meaning of that. We have the different license containers. So where are the licenses at the end? So it can be in a dongle. We are coming from the dongle sales since 35 years, but sometimes dongles are not the thing that you want to have, even if they have the advantage. It's the highest security you can achieve, because there's a security chip in that dongle. And it's the mobility. You can really go from one system to the other system and move the licenses from one to the other system. That's perfectly for any support case. On the other hand, it's of course a little bit more expensive. Of course, you need hardware for that. And if you are a plain software vendor, you don't want to handle with dongles. That's the reason why we have just CMAC licenses as well. This is also a license container where you can put in license entries. And this license container does not need a dongle. The embedded system itself is a dongle. Or if you're working with virtual machines, the virtual machine is more or less a good dongle for that system. And I'm here for, I think, 13 years in the meantime. I heard 10 years before, we are all in the cloud. Every device is connected to the cloud. I fear I will need to be here 10 years more, and then we are maybe in the cloud. I'm not 100% sure. But nevertheless, we also have a solution that allows to have such license entries also in the cloud, which means that you have an always-on connection from a device to the cloud. But you can choose. All these possibilities are available. This is the License Central that where you create the licenses for a customer, because you have to keep in mind how does such a process works. You have a marketplace. Someone wants to buy something from that marketplace. You put it in a basket. You go to the cashier. You pay, and then you can download the third-party library, and you can download a license. And that's exactly what this shop is doing at the end. It creates a license according to the item that you have bought in the marketplace. And when you, as an end user, want to activate that license, you get an activation code. All of you know that. It's a number-digit sequence with dashes. It's nothing else than a very good password to be able to download the licenses to such a license container that you see in the middle of the picture. Yeah? But all these license containers, dongle, software license, cloud license, they work in the same way. That's very important because you don't want to integrate several different solutions in your back office system. You want to have a marketplace where everything works automatically at the end. Now, how to monetize software and data. There are a lot of license models that you can think of. Starting with perpetual licenses, which are, you give a license out and it works forever, which is not the best license model, to be honest. So in the last years, you have different special license model like subscriptions. Subscriptions means your end customer has to renew licenses year by year by year. This is a wonderful license model, maybe a little bit difficult in the embedded industry, because if we are talking really about offline scenarios, then it's difficult to renew every year a license. It's possible, yeah, but it's a little bit effort to do that, and I fear the customers are not 100% happy if you have such a subscription model running. But it's possible. And if we are all online with everything, no limits any longer. We can have pay-per-use models. So if you want to have a license model in a different region of the world where you don't want to sell your software as a perpetual license, which is very expensive, you can say, okay, you can use my software, and every time you use it, you have to pay for it. And you see on that side, we have a wonderful list of different license models. We have seen, I think, every license model in the last 35 years. If you have a new one, let me know. And we have some spaces, empty memory spaces for you in a license so that you can create your own license models where you have a new idea, connecting it to a serial number for a system or something like that. It's a toolbox. You create your license models. And that's what you also do in such a marketplace, because you offer license models for the ones who want to sell their third-party libraries. These license models can fit to products, to regions, markets, or customers. So you have your application, or the third-party application, and this application does not care about the license model. The application just checks for, is there a license available, yes or no? But your license model, which is in another, which is in a license container, you can change that for different regions. So you can sell softwares for a different region in another way for another market or another region. Your software don't care about that. You decide that with the license model at the end. Okay, and how does that work? You have your application downloaded from the marketplace. You have several functions, and you get licenses from the marketplace. And if you have a basic license, you can start the program. If you have license 1, 2, or 3, then you can use function 1, 2, or 3 in your application as well. And that's independent from what license container you use, a dongle, a software license, or a cloud license. Even better is if your application is protected, because that's what I have shown just before is you put an API call in your application and check for a license entry. But this is by far not the best way to do this, because you can reverse engineer such an application, and that means that the hacker sees exactly, okay, here is the check for a license. I changed that in return true, and then the complete license check is gone. So it's very easy to hack such applications that only use an API interface to check for licenses. Yeah? So it makes much more sense to protect the application and protect the functions so that, in our case, such a license is, as you know, a cryptographic key. And if you have that license, in the moment when you need the application or the function, this function or application is decrypted in the memory, and only then. But you need a license for that. So that is a perfect combination of protection and of licensing with the same technology. We have that code meter protection suite for several operating systems, for several programming languages, even for script languages like Python, which is very much of interest in artificial intelligence applications and protecting the models for that, for Linux, for Macintosh, for Linux ARM. Whatever you need, we have that. Even more of interest is, that is what I said before, is to sign your application, to make really sure this is your application. It's not an application that looks like yours, and I have tempered that. I have changed that in a way that you don't want to have it changed. Yeah? So it makes sense to sign the application and the updates of an application. And so you check from the application side that the update that is just coming for your application is really the update from you, which is valid for this application. So there's a kind of a chain from the license container where everything is protected there until an update, a signed update, but that you can validate. By the way, in your licenses, you can also put your own private keys. As I mentioned before, we have several memory parts that allows you to put a private key in the license, which cannot be read out, which can only be used, which makes it possible to add identities to the several devices that you have out in the field. All are functions that you can offer to the third-party developers that wants to sell the software on your marketplace. The marketplace itself is connected to the entitlement management server. This is the standard name for that. Here the code meter license sent from us. So the process is, in the marketplace, someone wants to buy a third-party library with an item number, for example. The license center creates a ticket, sends it back to the marketplace. The marketplace delivers, for example, with an email or on a web page, such a ticket ID. And the end customer can activate that ticket ID directly or indirectly on the target system. And then the end user can use that software on the embedded device and can use it according to the licenses that are sold by that marketplace. So the revenue increase, and that is what you of course want as a target, is of course the protection is a cost factor, because you need to invest for tools and for your own effort money to be sure that the application is protected. Remember this CRA, that is a high motivation. And but with the flexible license models, you are able to earn money in the same moment because it's the combination between protection on the one side and licensing on the other side. You have to spend money to protect it, but you will earn money, and the idea, of course, is much more money than you have to spend for the protection as well. As I mentioned that before, not only for the software, sometimes you have important data or parameters, and we will see later on a special project with Daimler Buses, where they don't want to protect software, they want to sell the blueprints of 3D printable spare parts. So we are not only on the software side, we are also on the data side as well. And combining protection and licensing is, in my opinion, the key to success. Now I have some examples for marketplaces that we can check. And they are all already in place. So we are not talking about a castle outside in my presentation. There are already marketplaces there. So the vision for industrial apps is that there are several marketplaces, maybe from different companies or maybe from different organizations, and you have all the devices in the field, and there are several possibilities to create applications. We have different container based applications, and that is, by the way, the future. So nobody will really create applications directly for a certain system. All companies try in the meantime to be on a virtualized level with their applications, because as you know, we are not only talking about real devices in the future. You will see here, especially on this fair, you will see many companies like Siemens, like Codesys, like other companies that show virtual PLCs in the meantime. So instead of having 10 PLCs, you will have one large server that represents PLCs in the future. Yeah? And that will come sooner or later. I'm pretty sure it will come very soon, because then you have the possibility to ramp up with a certain number of PLCs. But if you need more of them, it's just a click. Like in AWS, if you need a new server, you will have a click and you have a new PLC installed in the same way you already have 10 PLCs installed in the system. So that is the future, and that is also the reason why we have that need for marketplaces, because everybody wants to have a marketplace to be able to sell the applications for real PLCs or for virtual PLCs as well. Yeah, we have the idea. Then development is done with different programming languages. Here we see JavaScript with a Node.js server in the background. Even .NET or Python, C, C++ is very popular. There will be an app at the end. There's a need for the protection with, for example, our CodeMeter protection suite. And then you containerize that application and make it independent from the underlying system. So that is the future of that. And so you want to make a... I can't do that. Here's again. And so the containerization enables all these developers that you can use such an application on different platforms if these platforms support virtualization. And I think all of them will do that sooner or later. Yeah? So that is in the future of applications in the embedded field. And then we have that flagship store of the OI4 community. The OI4 is an industry organization which is based on several companies of that of the embedded industry, and they decided to have one general store called flagship store, where all these companies can load up their applications. And the company Hilscher is the one who did that for the OI4 Industry Alliance. So that is today already available. And if I'm pretty sure you get the presentation of that, if you click on that link, you will directly come to that, and you will see that's exactly what we have discussed now in the last 40 minutes. You will see different applications. You can put it in a shop basket, and you can buy it, and it works like intended. So you download it, you get the licenses to activate it on the systems, and that's what is shown here: synchronization with the CodeMeter License Central. That is the entitlement server that I have introduced some slides before. And so this is already today a perfect combination, and all these containers that you can download from the marketplace are protected. Yeah? To be sure that on the one side you comply with all the necessary European regulations, and on the other side you protect the licensing mechanism in this application, so that you can be sure that you really can get your money that you deserve. Other point is, maybe a lot of you know the company Codesys. They are creating operating systems, hardware-independent operating systems for embedded devices. They had the idea with the shop system already 10 years before. So they saw the future already 10 years before. It's the same story. They offer the Codesys developed, because that's a software engineering tool for embedded devices. They offer third-party libraries for their code-assist implementation environment today as well. Last but not least, there is Flex, which is a company who offers such marketplaces for your own purposes. So you can build up your own marketplace if you want to build up one on the base of such a Flex marketplace standard. We are also implemented today in such a Flex marketplace. There are some other marketplaces already in place. Maybe you know Phoenix Contact with their PLC Next store. Exactly the same story. They want to sell libraries and functions for their PLCs to the customers. Festo is another example for that. So they have their app world, how it is called, to do exactly the same stuff. And last but not least, it was Daimler Truck, a little bit different to that what I have said before, but is also a marketplace. They need protection and they need licensing to be sure that the blueprints of the spare parts that are printed anywhere in the world at any time without losing the intellectual property of the blueprints of the images, and they want to make sure that you can only print the number of spare parts that you have bought in their shop system. Here you see an example of that shop system. There are several spare parts that you can download, and so you download on the one side the blueprint of the part, a license to be able to create the chamber room content for such a printer, and you can download a license for really printing it. So of course the printer needs to control that. So we are working together with some large printer companies in the world, and these printers are able to print only the parts if you have a valid license from Daimler Buses on your system. And that's the result of that. They did it because that is of course it's not a new technology, but it's a market that are increasing very rapidly because 3D printing is coming more and more cheaper and can compete against the normal creation of such spare parts, and you skip the whole logistic costs more or less. 90% of the logistic costs are away, you have no lead time, and of course you pay on the sustainability as well. So as a summary, product protection is a protection of your investment on the one side, and it fulfills the directives, regulations, and standards that are coming up and coming up soon. Yeah? We have just 1.5 years time to make your products, the existing ones and the new ones, compliant to the Cyber Resilience Act, for example. Flexible license models enable you the monetization of functions. That was not a point 10 years before, but today it is a point. You can do it. The market is prepared for license models, even for embedded devices. And marketplaces offers additional monetization options. The marketplace supplier offers the whole infrastructure for such developers, and so I think marketplaces are getting more and more important. The question is, do we have 100 of them in the future, or do we have only 10 in the future? We will see. Yeah, Wibu-Systems, we have a lot of customers, and now it's time for question and answers. First of all, thank you very much for your time. And now I need the headphone as well, because if you have any questions, my wonderful colleague Irina is there and have a second microphone if you want to ask something about that stuff. Don't hesitate. We have enough time. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your presentation, very insightful. Do you see also big suppliers of embedded systems participating in these marketplaces, like Caterpillar or other, Wärtsilä, Kongsberg?
Yes, I see that. The interesting point is, of course, for the PLC vendors. They have applications. So if you are an end user, a Caterpillar or something like that, I think you use it. You use marketplaces. It depends on which PLCs Caterpillar, for example, is using, and then they can create own applications for their own purposes, and they can also, if they say yes, that's also a great thing to sell it on a platform of the PLC vendor of the company that Caterpillar is using. So I don't see Caterpillar in that, or that they create PLCs in the meantime. I only know the tools from them. But yes, you see all the PLC vendors you have. What I have not mentioned here is, for example, Bosch Rexroth with their Control X marketplace. So all of them want to have additional benefits for their users and customers, also using marketplaces for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
You were mentioning the protection of software in addition to the licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering what technology you use for the languages that you presented, like JavaScript, Python, and .NET languages.
On the one side, you can use for a Python, for example, Cython, which leads to a basic nature application on that systems. But on the other side, we are also able to protect parts of that script language, and we have an alternative interpreter of that. So we are integrated in that interpreter thing. So that if we see, okay, you have this code that is not interesting for protection, and now it's protected, this interpreter sees, okay, we have now protected code, and then we decrypt that in the memory, run that in the memory only if the right license with the key for decryption is there. That's the idea behind that script languages that we support. Any further questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. Fully agree. I think it's very insightful. Talking about OEMs, what is the feedback that you can have for the OEMs? So I imagine it's very similar to what mentioned to Caterpillar and all. But what else you can comment about them?
If I understand the question right, then what you can do in such a marketplace is you can create licenses for companies as well. So you have what we offer as a technology is that you have several tiers. So someone sits on the top, for example, Tetra Pak sits on the top, and you can create such licenses for the first tier, which is representing the OEMs. The OEMs can create licenses for customers, for example. So you have the different tiers where you can say, okay, I allow my OEM partners, for example, to create licenses, or I create licenses for them, and they can forward these licenses to their customers as well. And even more, the customers can organize their licenses for several regions or departments so that they really have a tier-based system where you can give rights and roles down the tree. And you can see on the other side what happens with the licenses. Are they activated? Are they not activated? Are they ready for renewing? So that is also a thing that pays for the Cyber Resilience Act, because you have the full control, even if you have OEM partners in between, which is sometimes a little bit difficult because they don't want to tell you anything, what they are doing. They only want to give you the money for the licenses you did. But in the meantime, you are forced to know exactly where are the licenses so that you you need the overview of all that licenses in the field to say, okay, this license has to be withdrawn because the application is no longer Cyber Resilience Act compatible. And with this tier-based model, you have to control even about customers. At least to a certain point, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
We have to comply to the European General Data Protection Law as well, of course. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions, or are you ready for lunch? Okay, good. Then thank you very much again. Have a good fair and have a safe trip. Bye bye. Thank you.